Hey guys, welcome back to another lecture. In this lecture, we'll be focusing on service endpoints and private endpoints of Azure and how do we configure and what's the use of it. All right, let's quickly go back to the drawing whiteboard and first understand what it is. So let's just say we have a VNet. This is a VNet, and let's just say we only have one subnet, that is subnet, and we have a VM in it with a private IP and a public IP. Right? Then let's consider one PAAS service, which is storage account. So for the storage account, you cannot deploy it inside a VNet. So it's outside the VNet basically. And this VM with the public IP address can communicate to the storage account. Let's just say, okay, this part of the line below line is Microsoft network. This is internet. All right. So when with public IP and without service endpoints and private endpoints, the VM can communicate to the storage account over the internet, right? So, but in most of the organizations, this wouldn't be like a suitable one because they do not want to have their data and traffic going over the internet. So there are two options which Microsoft gives us. That is, one is service endpoint. Service endpoint is nothing but you will say, okay, this subnet will be able to access all the storage accounts, right? If there are n number of storage accounts, you will only give one, service endpoint in a subnet configuration. You'll link a service endpoint, and using that, you can access all the storage accounts basically in that region or globally, right? And the traffic goes via Microsoft backbone network. But the thing is, this network is again a shared one with all other customers of Microsoft. That is, in this traffic link, your traffic may be like um, what we gonna say, it's gonna be shared across with multiple organizations. All right. So this is one thing. To have more secure and private network, that is only your traffic would be done. So let's just clean up a little and then yeah. So in this case, what is a private endpoint is for this storage account in this subnet, you will assign a private IP. All right. You will assign one private IP and VM will talk to, I mean, earlier until now, VM will be talking to the storage account using storage accounts, you know, uh, fully qualified domain name. That is, if we give a storage account name storage, it will be storage.microsoft.net, something like this. So you will be talking to that. But when we do with the private IP address, so there is a private DNS zone created within this VNet. So what happens is this domain name of storage account will be, routed through this public IP, sorry, private IP. So when you hit the storage account domain name, the VM actually talks to this private IP within the subnet. So it's accessed over the private. Obviously, both are within the same subnet and the VNet, so it can talk directly. And a private link would be created between this endpoint and storage account. This is only this is again in the Microsoft backbone network, and this is only accessible to the storage account and the VM itself. That's all. So it's not shared. So this is more secured in this way. But again, service endpoints are free to use, but private endpoints and link service is a little bit costlier. So when it comes to service endpoint, there is only single term, that is you will be basically creating an endpoint at subnet level, and then you will be having some configuration to allow this VNet at storage level, and it works. When it comes to private endpoint, the one you create within the subnet, it's called private endpoint, and then this would be the link, the private link. All right. If I hope this is clear. So let's move on. I have some setup to basically show you guys. So yeah, if you take a look at this one, we don't currently don't have any service endpoints and private endpoints. All right, and if you see connected devices, we only have one, network interface card, and this is the IP address. And we have two subnets. One is for the Azure Bastion, and the other one is default. We don't have any Bastion deployed now, but the subnet is created. That's all. So now, if I have created a VM. So let's just take a look at that VM. So this VM currently has a public IP address, which I will be needing to basically connect, over PuTTY. Uh, and if you take a look at the network settings, nothing special, only 22 port is open to the public internet, right? So, and storage account, you may ignore all of them. Basically, how do we create and all of this stuff, we'll just focus on networking in this part. Later we can discuss all of them in a separate, like when we reach the storage accounts. So storage account is one of the PAAS service which you know uh, we can access using service endpoints and private endpoints. So to basically try out if our setup is working, I have created a sample container in which no files are there, it's empty basically. Yeah. So yeah, in the networking part, currently it's disabled from public access. So if I just go into my VM with and log in with this public IP address. All right, so we can do, have already installed AZCLI in this VM. So to do that, you can just search Google with AZCLI install on Linux, and you can select what is the uh, version of your Linux, and then it gives you the commands. This is one step command. You can just run it and it will do, or these are multiple steps which you can follow. So I've already done this and nothing else I've done. So I'll just do AZ storage account container storage container list account name. Account name is nothing but the storage account name, and then account key. This is nothing but the authentication for this storage account, which we'll be having over here in the access keys. So yeah, I've just copied that, I've pasted. So now if you see, this will deny us. This will say, okay, please check network rule set using this one. So this is denying us access because currently, if you take a look in the networking section, public access is denied. Right, all right. So now let's just go back to the network, and let's say we enable the service endpoint. We are trying out service endpoint first. So let's just do that, and we are doing it for this subnet. Right. So this will take a couple of minutes to basically be done. Currently, okay, it's done. Yeah, it's pretty quick. Now let's just go back to this one, and yeah, this is disabled. So let's just delete this and retry adding the same network one, and here, yeah, default. Let's just add it and let's save it. So yeah, the saving is done, and now the service endpoint is basically, yeah, is done. So now if we try to connect again, yeah, now we are able to basically list the containers. As you can see, the sample container is listed out. So let's just go back to disable, and yeah, it's disabled now. So service endpoint, we are done, dealing with it. So let's just remove that, and let's try out private endpoint now. I mean, one more important thing is we do not need our VM to have a public IP address to do this. I just needed to connect it over here to show you guys this one. Otherwise, you can basically remove the public IP address and you can use Azure Bastion instead of the PuTTY. You can use Azure Bastion to connect to this VM and you can try out the same thing. If you face any issues, please mention in the comment section. I'll create another, video for that. So yeah, this is done. So let's just go back to private endpoints. Nothing over here. So now we can go to storage account and say, so yeah, we can create a private endpoint connection from the storage accounts itself. So let's just click on this one and configure. The resource group would be this one. I'm gonna say storage and VNet, the name for this one. And as you can see, a network interface is being created in the region east to west. So our VNet is in this region, so we have to have the service endpoint, that is network interface, in this region. So let's go to the resource. What would be the target sub resource within the storage account? I want to access blobs. So let's create that. And virtual network, mostly it will be auto selected. Yeah, the virtual network and default. As you can see, incompatible. We cannot do this one because this is reserved for Azure Bastion. Dynamically allocate, that's not a problem. And yeah, one more thing, private DNS has to be created. So as we discussed, but more focus on this one would be done in the upcoming chapters. So this also, like wouldn't take much long to create, maybe a minute or two, and we'll come back once it is done. Yeah, the private endpoint is created now, and if we can just go back to the storage account and networking. Yeah, the private endpoint is created. And when we come to networks, virtual network, and refresh this, we a private endpoint has been listed over here, and DNS servers, we should see one. Not DNS servers, just a minute. Yeah, if we go to take a look at the connected devices, we would be having a NIC created and a private IP address within the subnet range has been provided to it. And no, so yeah, this is the private DNS zone that has been created. This is to basically resolve the you know uh, storage accounts fully qualified domain name to this private IP address, that is the NIC. So VM would be communicating to this network interface card through which the communication would be done. All right, now that the connection has been set up, and as we can see, public access has been denied. So if we just try to do the same thing again, we should be able to do that. Yeah. So this is how, like, we communicate to storage account using private endpoints. And as we know, there are multiple services within Azure that support private endpoints and service endpoints. So to see some of them, we can just go hit and add one. So if you can see Active Directory, Cosmos DB, Cognitive, Container, Event Hub, Key Vault, Service Bus, SQL, Storage, and Web. Web is nothing but app services. So these are the services that actually, like allow us to use service endpoints and private endpoints to, like connect to them over the Microsoft network privately, not using internet. Yeah. All right. That's it for today's lecture. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment sections. Thank you. Thank you for watching.